back down 3-5. That's how it goes, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Over 50, starting over on Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison.
All right. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Happy Friday to you.
Oh, yeah.
Always
happy
looking
Friday.
forward to Friday morning.
Absolutely. It's so fun. Lots to talk about. I got some fun stuff to talk about. Oh, I wanted to tell you that this is yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, I was on Instagram because I was posting some of my work, and I like so many of these other things, I can't get into Instagram, but when I'm on there, because I'm posting, I will scroll through and try to keep up on some things.
Right.
And I saw Candace Owens had a little video, a promo for, listen to this, you're gonna like this. She's selling her own phone. It's called the Freedom Phone.
The Freedom Phone.
Yeah,
okay.
because it's not tracked.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So
I wonder how she manages that.
I do too. I would think that, and I know nothing else about it other than what I'm saying right here, right now.
Right.
I would think that it would be very limited because of the apps. You would have to, I mean,
here's another thing is, like, if she could figure it out, I mean, it seems like she easily figured that out. How come everybody else isn't doing that, or anybody else?
I don't know. Well, probably because we're so tethered to Google and Apple and all of these apps. Everybody wants, and maybe the demand will start shifting, but to this point, everybody wants the best apps and the most functionality, and their freaking Chinese TikTok program. And
I'm wondering though, is the Freedom Phone like that old phone? Those
crank it up.
That they didn't have like any data at all, so it's like, well, they can't really look at your apps because you don't have any.
Right. No, she held it up to the screen and she showed these apps, and she said, I don't know, said what their names were or something. It's like I didn't recognize what they were. Huh, so that's all I know. I'm interested. Like, if I had time, maybe even later today, I'll actually Google it.
Seems like a pretty good sign, though, that
doesn't it, that the awareness
turning? Yes, exactly.
Awareness. That's
right.
It's that's something that we kind of talk about, you and I, individually a lot. Is that, boy, when you watch mainstream media, there's a whole different world right there. But more and more people are looking at different sources of news, such as podcasts and things like that. And the awareness is spreading in spite of mainstream media and our politicians, our government, all conspiring, and big tech, all of these that are conspiring to censor everything that we think and say.
I know. This is,
you heard about, I'm sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but heard about the government proposing monitoring our SMS text messages to see if
it was almost
misinformation.
Surreal when I saw that article come aboard and just saw Jen Psaki so casually talking about it, that, it's no big deal. We're just working with big tech and SMS companies to monitor or manage SMS to prevent misinformation about COVID-19. And boy, that was a 1984 moment if I hadn't heard one before.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely terrifying because it's like everything else. You give them that little in, and now that becomes the precedent. When they want to take the next step, they say, well, look, we do this, and all this good comes from it. They'll spin it however they want. So now we want to do this, which is monitor your phone calls, and which I'm sure they do already. I really am sure they do.
But at the same time, okay, so they could listen to our phone calls, but they're not censoring our phone calls.
Oh, good point. Right.
They're not censoring anything here, our email messages or anything like that. So I mean, that's what they're talking about here, is that they'd have the ability to somehow prevent information from being sent. So I think about Candace Owens. I can't help getting this picture in my head. I'm like, okay, to combat this, we're going to have to take away all the apps. They'll figure out something for that. We'll soon be relegated to smoke signals, and the government will have a smoke maker that can add to our smoke makers or delete our smoke.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this is a crazy it's crazy what's happened. I'm making fun, but it's actually one of the most serious threats to our way of life. I mean, talk about the elimination of freedom of speech. These are private conversations that we're having with our friends and family that they think that they have the right to interfere in, but they don't. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about the Constitution and the limited form of government that we have in the federal government. And it says in the 10th Amendment that if it's not, I'm going to paraphrase, if it's not listed here in the Constitution, then the federal government does not have that right. The
They've overstepped their rights already so much.
The Constitution's enumerated, and that means that there's the powers that they have are numbered. And if it's not in those numbers, they don't have that power. They don't have that power. That's just plain and simple. So, well, we'll see what happens with that. I think there's going to be some very serious challenges to that. And if there's not, we'll know something's fishy.
Something's always fishy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, the movement against free speech for censorship is been unearthed, uncovered, and now we're taking it very seriously. Thank God. We're re-educating ourselves as to why freedom of speech is so important, because we've taken it for granted for so long.
Well, take a look at what's happening in Cuba right now, because what we saw the protest happen on Sunday, and yesterday the government of Cuba shut down the internet for the citizens so that they would not have the ability to, communicate amongst each other and also with their family members or anybody outside the country to show what's actually happening. And these protests, we know that the government had decided to crack down on those protesters, and we've heard of beatings and many arrests. People have disappeared. And of course, they didn't want us to be able to see that. And I think that's very interesting that even our government has had a very tepid response to what's happening over there. But this whole shutdown of freedom of speech, or any kind of speech, you can see how it could be used against a population like Cuba right across the way from us. And, this is something we should be standing against. It doesn't matter what your partisan relationship is. We should all be united in this one.
Well, yeah, and Haiti, all the stuff going on there. So
I'm not sure what's going on there. I heard of assassinations, I think.
Yeah, they took out I don't know if his title was prime minister, emperor, whatever. But they took out the big guy, and it was a SWAT it was like a SWAT imposter squad.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh,
yeah, I'm surprised you didn't hear about that.
I can't keep up with everything.
Couple people were Americans, or at least related to the American government. I didn't go into a lot of detail with it either. But so there's been all of these videos of them chanting in their language, yelling freedom, freedom, freedom over and over again. And Psaki tried to spin that as because they
needed supplies.
Well, no, they didn't want to. Some press people were trying to ask them about the government, the state of the government situation. In other words, try to get them to denounce communism, and they would not do it. Psaki said, well, what they want is they need supplies and they need medical equipment because of COVID and things like that. Total spin. They can't denounce communism. That is telling.
Well, it is. It's very telling. I mean, they're marching around with American flags, and so
that's got to kill the left.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and I know we're jumping into current events pretty quickly here, but
yeah, because we're going to back up.
This is some crazy stuff that we see what's happening at our southern border right now. This flood of people. So far, we've had over 1 million people come over the southern border, larger than many cities here in the country, including San Francisco. And it's changing the population. But the thing is that the Admiral of the Navy came out in the strongest terms this week to say, if you are planning on coming over to America by sea, do not try it. You will be apprehended. You will not make it to this country. Well, okay, that's a pretty interesting thing based on the comment that you just made about how they won't criticize communism. They know that when the Cubans came over here before and came in as refugees in Florida and made their permanent residency in Florida, that those people traditionally vote Republican. And so you got these people coming over the southern border that we believe would vote Democrat.
Mhm.
And boy, you could come on in, but if you're going to come in from Cuba, do not even try it. And how is that? I mean, come on, that is,
Right.
talk about transparent. It's not about being racist, because that's what they say. You're racist if you don't want
Always.
people coming over the southern border. Well, last I looked, the people of Cuba look a lot like the people from Mexico. So
Mhm.
what so it's not racism. It's about voting, and it's about
Yeah.
who has the power. And it's a sick game that they're playing right here. And they're using us as pawns to play that game. But
Yeah.
again, we need to be aware of this kind of stuff.
We do, and we're getting more and more so. Yeah, I wanted to back up a little bit and want to encourage people to check out this Joe Rogan podcast. It's number 1670, 1670 podcasts. With David Sinclair. He's a Harvard professor, and they're discussing the apparent reversal of our aging process. He's been studying this for a long time, and I'm only a third of the way through it. I'm exactly 47 minutes into it, and I'm absolutely riveted by it. And they're talking about different methods, and Joe pushed him on this one, and he's like, okay, I don't condone this, but HGH combined with DHEA supplement absolutely has a age reversal factor to it. He explained it more. I didn't take any notes. I was just at the gym listening to it. So
right.
I'm really just doing a flyby here. I've been taking DHEA for 20 years. And
I've never heard of these things, so you're gonna have to educate me.
HGH is human growth hormone.
Oh,
To me, it's related with steroids, and
it sounds like it. Yeah.
Stallone's been taking that forever. In fact, I remember when he got busted in Australia.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
a long
that.
time ago.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
HGH. So yeah, it's so I don't know. I would, under doctor supervision, I would mess with it in small doses, but the DHEA is a supplement that you can get on vitamins.com or whatever. I took 25 milligrams of that every day when I was in my 30s. I upped it to 50 milligrams in my 40s, and now I'm at 100 milligrams, and I'm going to stay there for the rest of my life as a 50s. And what that does, as I've read about, is it has a way of stimulating your body to produce more of your natural hormone. In men, testosterone, and in women,
okay.
what's it in women? Estrogen.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, and so that I've always sworn by that. Of course, that and a multivitamin, natural multivitamin.
It was DHEA. Is that? Any idea what that stands for?
Yeah, no. I could look it up here.
No, don't worry.
It'll be really long. Dextrose, something hydro.
Doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and then he was talking about this guy, David. Where did my notes go? David Sinclair, the Harvard professor. He's talking about there are in human clinical trials right now doing this is it hyperbaric chambers? It's forcing oxygen into you. I know a lot of NFL players like Tom Brady does this. Joe Rogan does this, has his own hyperbaric chamber. But there's a study going on in Israel where, and the guy said, and ironically, it's a German study in Israel. He says that they have a giant room, they put 20 people in it, and they press a bunch of oxygen in there for a while, and more than normal. And then they take it away less than normal. And what they're doing is kind of shocking the body back and forth. And they think they say the studies look like, if I'm putting this one with the correct study, because he talked about a lot of different ones, but
right.
It took literally 20 years, gave them 20 years back to their lives. And he has proprietary ways of measuring your actual age. It says it has nothing to do with your chronological age. And another thing that he says is, of course, exercise is the most important thing. And he says you can just run 10 minutes a day, a few times a week, and you're going to get pretty much as much benefit as any other very strenuous exercise. And I think I said before, I'll say again, I heard Jordan Peterson say, because I have to get his name in every podcast. Let's get it out of the way at the beginning.
Good work.
And he said a couple of weeks ago on a podcast that your brain cognitive aptitude, your ability starts, it peaks at 25 and you start a slow decline. But he said from there on, by far and away, the number one thing to stimulate cognitive ability, it's not crossword puzzles, it's exercise. By far and away.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it's just to it's kind of like blowing out the carburetor in our car. You get rid of you're sweating and working out, you're upping your metabolism to get rid of the good and get rid of the bad and bring more good in, and oxygenating the body. I guess that's what all that has to do with. Certainly cardiovascular to get your lungs breathing heavy.
Well, and have you ever noticed that if you have something really heavy on your mind, if you go for a walk,
it's everything.
Something about that. I think it all goes together with what you're saying. Going
through bad times when I've just felt just horrible, like closing in on what do you call that? Anxiety attack or something. Exercise, heavy exercise, man. It's a lifesaver. Absolute lifesaver.
They always say, like, even if you're having anxiety attacks, to exercise, that's it's counterintuitive to the person having anxiety because they just feel like laying down. But apparently that's what you're supposed to do.
For sure. Another thing that he said is super important, and you'll hear different camps on this, but is eating less. And he goes, you don't need 3 meals a day. And he goes, some people just eat to eat. Most people just eat to eat, and you're never hungry. And a big problem with that is, boy, this ties into so much that we've talked about regularly, but a big problem with not being hungry is that your body is satiated. In other words, it doesn't feel any struggle. It doesn't have anything to try for. And
I see what you're saying.
Humans need struggle. And if you take it away, see how much we've talked about this. If you take away that struggle, we do it with our kids and participation trophies and all that. What do? They become anarchists, or they hide themselves in video games, trying to struggle to get to the next challenge of level. I mean, it creates huge problems. It creates anxiety. So he says, just eating less and making sure you're hungry. Like if you can eat once a day, great. Don't eat late though. And, but to be hungry is a really important thing that, again, fighting against aging, I forget how he said it, but he said that makes your body like have to try harder.
That's really interesting.
And I'm
not a very nice guy when I'm hungry.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, because I was, I'm at the gym a couple hours ago listening to this, and I'm like, well, I always eat a little something before the podcast to take the edge off.
Right.
I don't want that.
I don't want you coming in here edgy.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought.
You're hard enough to handle.
He's telling me exactly the opposite. I'm thinking about it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll wait and I'll be starving by the time we get done with the podcast.
Please don't do that, Barry.
I know. And
I've seen you food pissed before.
Oh, look who's talking. In college, you were the worst.
I don't know if I was the worst.
You were the worst. You would come busting in.
I met my match when I met you.
You came busting in, door flying against the wall, and you took these long strides. And it's just like to throw your stuff down and get something to eat.
You better not be in the way either.
That's a fact, man. It might bite my arm.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that whole terminology came from the college experience.
Well, what people came up with later, because we used to always say he's food pissed. You and I came up with that. But
Right.
what came up later is, I mean, like 10 years ago, is hangry.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is,
right. That's so.
it's a good one.
It is, it is. And then we started seeing those Carl's Jr.'s commercial with the bottle, you know, and the burger on the card. We're like, oh, you're horngry now.
Oh, I'd
What's
never
going
heard
on
that
here?
before.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's like, why does that make me? That doesn't make me want a hamburger. I'm sorry, but
I know.
must have worked for somebody.
So what's your take on what I said about the eating thing? How do you do your eating? It's probably habitual, my guess. Do you guys do dinner?
Here's it. So you mentioned 3 meals a day. I haven't had 3 meals a day. I don't even remember the last time I had 3 meals a day. Yeah. I pretty much I don't know. I probably have 2 meals a day. And we don't always have like a dinner that we cook. You know, sometimes we just say, hey, you're on your own tonight, and I'll make
do that
like
all the time.
something. And but I do like, Anne Marie was just saying this last night, I do like when I do have a dinner, I like to have like a meat and like some kind of side thing to go with it, you know. Like to me, like it's not really a meal unless you have like a couple of things there. And she's
same here.
So what is that? We do a delivery service too, Blue Apron.
I've heard
and
of it.
Anne Marie's been making these meals on Blue Apron, and they're delicious.
You just pop them in the oven, don't you?
No, I wish. I'm sure she wishes. What they do is they give you all the supplies, like all the vegetables and everything, so you don't have to get it, but you have to prepare all of that stuff. You know, like it'll be a package of chicken to go with it, and they got a recipe, and you prepare it. And boy, Anne Marie, she wasn't a big cook before this. The actual cooking that she's done with this Blue Apron, we've been doing it for over a year. She's learned all these things now, and now she can mix and match the different things that she's learned. She's an awesome cook now. Yeah. And this is all very, you know, you can choose your levels of fat intake and everything like that. So that's pretty good.
That is.
My problem is this, is that, and you mentioned it too, is that I get hungry late at night and I want a snack. And I love yogurt. I mean, that's my go-to when I want to, but and I have like these, sometimes I'll have 3 of them because I'm so hungry, you know, and I don't think that's good. Or here's
there's a lot of sugar in yogurt.
Is chocolate milk. I am
really, you little kid.
I know, I can't help it. It's it's comfort food for me, I guess, and so I love it. It's and the problem is if you buy some, if Anne Marie brings some home, I almost can't stop drinking it.
I would encourage you to make the move to almond milk. And I did that.
We have some in the refrigerator that we just got some. I haven't tried it yet, but I would try it.
I know you're such a creature of habit. You're gonna be like, this tastes nasty. I don't like it.
I don't like the voice you just used.
But listen to me. Just do it. Stick to it for a couple months, and then go ahead and say, if you're having your doubts still, then go ahead and try that milk again and be like, yuck.
I know what you mean by that.
I did that because I had some milk. This is just recently when I made my I had to go buy some milk to make my nearly world famous garlic mashed potatoes. So I had some left over. And so I only use it for my coffee in the morning, you know.
Right.
And I use almond milk now, and unsweetened. I freaking love it. I think I like coconut milk even better. I was doing that for a while. Oh, it tastes so good.
Does it?
But almond, I did all my research. Almond milk's up there with amongst the very best for you.
I've heard that.
Dairy milk. I mean, humans are the only species that after infancy still drink milk. That right there tells you there's something wrong there.
There's something wrong with me.
Yeah. So anyway, I did the milk thing in my coffee, as I said, because I had that left over. This is like a month ago or so.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, disgusting. I got this aftertaste, that gumminess in my mouth, the bad breath.
Yeah.
And
that milk does that, right?
Yeah.
I get that.
I encourage you, get off the regular.
So almond milk doesn't do that?
Not at all.
No. Oh, okay.
No, I think it's great.
I like what you're saying right there. Hey, speaking of food products, I think this is a good segue. I was
just want to
looking.
ask you one thing
Oh,
quickly.
go ahead. Yeah.
So that Blue Apron, I'm imagine that it's all perfectly clean, correct? There's no preservatives,
Oh
chemicals.
no.
Okay, that's
Nothing
very
like that
important.
at all. Yeah,
Okay,
everything's totally fresh, all fresh vegetables. The meat that they send along with it as well is just prime.
nice.
Everything just tastes really good. Everything's really fresh. And like I said, Anne Marie, she's really good at following recipes. That's how if she has a recipe, like a step by step, man, she's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with that. I mean, it's too much. I don't know. I have, there's certain people that cook when they don't really follow the recipe,
That's
and
me.
it kind of changes every time a little bit.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
me.
other people can. That's how I cook too.
Yeah.
Anne Marie, she's got to have it right there in front of her, and it works for her. So God bless her. I
Yeah,
keep on
sure.
going, girl. Yeah, it's a good thing though. Hey, so one of the things that Anne Marie and I are constantly going back and forth on is the food, if food is expired or not. and
Oh, I
and
just had that dilemma. Go ahead.
did you really? Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
I'll go, like, because it's my job to throw out the trash and everything, and I'll go grab the trash, and it'll be like 30 pounds. And wait a second, oh, I just cleaned out the closet. And I'm like, well, look at all this food, and it'll be like, well, this is expired. I'm like, well, what do you mean? The date is yesterday. Do you really, you think that it just went bad on that exact date? And she's like, well, that's what it says, and I'm not taking any chances. And basically, I always lose that one. How
Oh,
about
yeah.
you?
I would lose that one every time with Lisa,
Yeah.
for sure, for
Yep,
sure.
yep. I'm like, all right,
But I
whatever.
agree with you. So just 2 days ago, and I just checked the date, it's the 16th. All right. So 2 days
Mhm.
ago, I went to Mark's down here, and I often get turkey burger there. I make turkey burger all the time. I make it, usually make it like all minced up with, well, I have certain ingredients. Believe it or not, I mix it all up like a meatloaf, kind of like I put oatmeal in it instead of breadcrumbs, and some seasoned salt, like we used to use back in
Yes,
college,
yes.
parsley and oregano.
Hmm.
And I mixed this all up, and it, believe it or not, it kind of almost tastes like sausage. Oh, and onion for the moisture.
Hmm.
And so I put it in a frying pan. I kind of break it up as much as possible by hand, and put it in a frying pan, and then I just mince it up as much as possible. Then I put all natural hot sauce in it, tons. So it's
Hmm.
almost like sloppy Joe at the end.
Right.
This is kind of my Mexican turkey
Yeah.
burger that I can put in my bean dip. Lisa likes to mix it with her vegetables. I love what do you call those beans? Not navy beans, great northern beans.
Oh.
I love those. I could just take them right out of the can, heat them up. I put pepper in there, and then if I put some of that spicy turkey in there, I got something really going on. So
How
I use
about
it in
that?
all these different ways. That's my protein. I agree with you that when I eat a meal, I want meat. I want meat of some sort.
Yeah, so do
Now,
I.
I think I mentioned before, I do substitute from time to time these vegetable patties or different things that I get at Aldi's that are all natural, but they taste, I think I said it to you before, but if I eat them once a week, oh, they're great. But if I go to twice a week, it's like, I don't know about these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
So,
exactly what you're saying,
so
right?
I
Too
do
much of a
that.
good thing is not a good thing.
Correct. Now, so what I was saying is, so I went to Mark's to get this turkey burger, and it was 99 cents for a package. It's usually 2 or 3.99, like 3.99. I'm like, what?
Right.
So I look at the expiration date. All of them are marked at 99 cents, and it's that day. It was July 14th.
Gotcha. So it was sell
They got to
by
get rid of them.
July 14th.
I'm
And
sure it's
yeah.
illegal to sell it after. I'm sure.
Well, it's here's
So I had the
that's a
same
good
dilemma
one.
that you
Yeah.
brought up.
But did you buy it?
I did. I bought 2 packages.
You got 2
And I
packages.
cooked the one package immediately, and I'm going to cook the
And
second one today
and
because I
oh,
think, now you tell me, I think that if you cook it right away, it's kind of like you got a whole new lease on life there because you cooked whatever, if there's bacteria in there or whatever, out. you know?
That's right. That's how I see it. Now, this article does not address this, Barry, but this is one of the things that Anne Marie and I have gone back and forth on too. Is like, she says, well, the chicken, it's been in the refrigerator for 2 days. Then we cooked it, and then I put the chicken back in, and she's like, no, it's already been in there for 2 days. I said, no, but we cooked it.
Yes.
Like you said,
I agree.
now it's cooked. It's not raw meat.
It's a new
It'll
thing
last
now.
much long. It's a new thing.
This is really scientific.
Male logic, right? It's a new thing. It's not raw chicken. Even in Spanish, they have 2 words for chicken. One is for raw chicken and one's for cooked chicken. So it's a new thing, man. And at least in Mexico, it is. But anyway, let me just read some of this to you, because this is an eye-opener. This is coming from an article I got from the advisory board, which is one of the health periodicals that I'm plugged into. And but this is actually getting information from Consumer Reports, and I'll just read you part of it because this was an eye-opener to me. Sell by, use by, best if used by. Discerning the difference between your food products' expiration labels can be confusing. So how do you know what to keep and what to toss? In the Washington Post Consumer Reports, it breaks it down. So here's what it's saying. This is an eye-opener. With the exception of baby formula, the federal government doesn't regulate food products' date labels, according to Consumer Reports. So the federal government doesn't regulate that. That's largely because the labels rarely have anything to do with the safety of your food. I didn't know that. More often than not, the labels serve as manufacturers' best guesses about how long their food will taste its freshest, according to Consumer Reports. They're also often used as a guide for supermarkets when stocking shelves. The result, supermarkets and consumers often throw away food that has exceeded the label date but is otherwise likely healthy to eat.
Interesting.
So before you throw out that milk, here's a breakdown of what the labels mean according to Consumer Reports. Best if used by or before. This label refers to the date by which the food product will have the best quality and flavor. For example, a manufacturer of crackers will set a date based on when the crackers may lose their crispness. Okay, so it's not going to be a bad cracker. It's just not going to be the best.
How bad can crackers get?
Yeah, yeah. I've had some pretty stale crackers.
Well, stale sucks, but it's like an inconvenience. It's not a health thing.
It's not. Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's the point I think they're making. Here's use by. Use by labels indicate the last date the manufacturer can guarantee the best quality of the product, but it is not an indication of food safety. Did you hear that, Anne Marie? And sell by labels are set for retailers, not consumers, and denote when a retailer. And I think that's what it might have said on your turkey, by the way. Sell by,
probably
not. And so if they have a sell by date, they might lower that price to get it sold.
They did significantly.
Date. And it denotes when a retailer should remove the product from its shelves to ensure it is sold during its peak quality window. Products often are safe and considered a reasonable quality for several days to several weeks after the sell-by date.
Whoa.
You hear that? Several days to several weeks.
Now that you say that, I wish I would have bought several more of those at that super cheap price and put them in the freezer.
Yeah, you know what? This is interesting because it says, so if you eat the food past the date, you may not notice any difference in quality, especially if the date has recently passed. The article actually goes on to say that freezing your food is a great way of just exactly what you just said. It's a great way of prolonging your food. So it goes on to say it's worth noting that several of the world's largest consumer good companies are in the process of simplifying their expiration labels to 2 options, either best if used by or used by. But it also says here that that the Consumer Reports are saying that if you eat the food past the date, they're saying that these manufacturers are typically very conservative with their dates. So that the sell by, they usually could go probably further, but they're conservative. So that's something.
What you're telling me, and first of all, the eye opener was I thought this was FDA regulated and mandated.
That's what Anne Marie and I both thought. Yeah.
purposes. But what you're opening up my eyes to is these manufacturers want to make sure that it's getting to the consumer when it's at its best.
That's exactly right. Now,
Yeah.
here's a couple other things, because you mentioned some canned food here. Generally speaking, canned foods can be stored for 2 to 5 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
Consumer Reports writes that while foods high in acid, such as tomatoes or pickles, can be stored for 12 to 18 months. However, perishable foods like meat or dairy have a much shorter life. And what they're saying here is to trust your taste buds and smell with these. So once perishable foods have gone bad, they'll typically grow bacteria, mold, or yeast, which you'll likely notice or smell. So that's that. Then it goes on to talking about how not to waste your food, but the freezing part is a big deal. But that's it. So it doesn't come from the FDA. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I
That's a
thought
game
you were pretty
changer.
much like, oh my God, we got to eat this before the date. And
Yeah. And then
now
do I feel sick? I think I might.
yeah.
That's how you play that in your head.
I think I'm okay. I do have a weird aftertaste. So
That's
there
really
you go.
interesting.
But this is a big deal, because here, times we've all had to tighten our belts a little bit, and you don't want to be wasting good food.
Right.
That's the worst thing to be doing. And we've thrown out there's like big bags of food before because of those stupid dates.
Yeah, I eat a lot of lunch meat because I like the boar's head. It's all natural.
I love
lean.
boar's head.
Oh, isn't it so good?
It's so good.
I always get the buffalo chicken. I used to get turkey all the time. Turkey's so good for you and lean.
Yeah.
But this chicken, the thing about the turkey is deli meat turkey is, man, I got like a 2-day period in my head, clock a window, because there's nothing worse than that turkey gets a little slimy.
Oh, I don't like that.
With
I
each
eat
passing
the
day.
too fast, though. There's no way I'm going to let any slime get on my turkey.
That's why I went to the chicken, though, because doesn't really do
it as fast.
Not at all.
Doesn't really do it. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because I don't like that.
So I get that, and then I get tavern ham as well, which is a pretty lean ham, but ham. It's almost like my salami. It's like a healthy salami, if you want to go that route. It gives a lot of flavor, but it's not like salami's really unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
So, I look at it like the ham like salami light. So I make sandwiches out of those. And the reason I brought that up, I wanted to just tell you about the slimy turkey thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing I got, and it's in my head too. How long has that turkey been in there? 2 days? Oh,
it's 2 days is your thing, huh? After 2 days,
kind of maybe 3 with the turkey. 3 days.
And I'm a big turkey lover too, but I guess that's the perishable thing that they're talking about in Consumer Reports is the slime. Maybe that's bacteria. I don't know. That's not.
I don't know.
Not something I like. But I'm with you on that whole thing. So anyway, hopefully that'll help you to save some food out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go into current events?
Sure. There's almost too much. Actually, before we go on to that, I wanted to talk about something.
Yeah.
We had an experience here where we've got this sort of a dog area that I live in a townhouse, and they made sort of a dog area where people can take their dogs to, do their business.
Yeah.
And we had a little accident happen right outside of my window where 2 women were out there. One of them was elderly, and one of them had a big German Shepherd, and the other one had sort of a miniature dog. And the woman with the German Shepherd lost control of her dog. She couldn't hold it back. The German Shepherd wanted to play with the other dog. What ended up happening is the woman with the German Shepherd fell down on top of the little dog, and the little dog ended up it broke the dog's leg. It was a terrible, terrible thing. And we went through, we helped out with this and took her to the vet and everything. And the long story short is the little dog, Lola, is okay. She had a spiral. This is terrible. She had a spiral fracture in her tibia, and they had to actually do surgery. And she's got a big cast on her. There was almost $8,000 worth of surgery.
Who's paying that bill?
Well, it's gonna be, they're working it out. The
Oh,
woman that fell down was obviously negligent in this whole thing. It was an accident,
sure. But she
but
couldn't control her dog, and I've had too
that's the
many bad
problem.
experiences with that.
And that's where I wanted to go, is
Hmm.
that, this is here, this caused a lot of damage. And you get this, the elderly woman is recently widowed, and Sheila is her name. I haven't seen her since her husband Skippy passed away. She's pretty much been, trying to get over the grief of this whole thing. She's been with him since she was 16. She's
Oh
like
my God.
75 now.
Oh my God.
And so, the grief has been overwhelming, but this little dog that they got
Oh,
shortly before Skippy died has been the love
lifeline.
that's
Yeah,
carried her through this. So when this happened to her dog, I mean, she was she seemed to be as hurt as the dog was. I
I
mean,
get
every,
it.
every time that dog whimpered, she made a noise. And
Hmm.
it was heartbreaking to see.
Yes.
Bottom line is that we've got to do a better job as a society of keeping our dogs on leashes. That's number one. And
Yeah.
make sure you have like a leash that you can control your dog with. I mean, this
Hmm.
woman had this little tiny thin leash, and the dog is like 80 pounds.
Hmm.
She could have had some kind of harness or something.
Yes, the harnesses work great. If
They
the
do.
ones that clip to the neck, it brings them off balance when they try to pull. So it doesn't matter how big that dog is, they
Right.
cannot. Yeah, they get out of control. And Merle, I had that problem continuously with Laney, my little beagle, and I went from Bowser the wolf-like dog to Laney the little victim. And
That's right.
seriously,
Yeah, it's
it
funny
was a
how
big,
different they were.
and I had that problem constantly. People with their big dogs, and they just completely oblivious to the fact that I had this happen all the time. They're coming at me with their two big dogs, and they're going, "My dogs just want to say hi," and I'm like, "No, no, she's a rescue. She's terrified." And what she would do is then nip, bite, because she's terrified,
Right.
and then get her butt kicked. And then somehow I'm the bad guy in this whole deal. I had this happen all the time. And a lot of times it was with women who could not control their dogs.
Well, this is exactly what happened to Anne Marie. She went out to the park with Stella several years ago, and this woman who had a pit bull could not control her dog, and
Oh,
Stella ended up getting bit. Like, this dog bit down on her leg and wouldn't let
oh,
go. Anne Marie was injured in the process as well. Fortunately, Stella didn't break her leg, but we had this whole terrible thing we had to deal with, and it's all about control your dog. And besides that, man, we would go over to that dog park all the time, and they'd have dogs off the leash all the time. So now you got dogs running to you off
yeah.
of off a leash, and that can be scary if you are
Yes.
timid around other dogs. It's terrifying not only to you but also to your dog. I'm not that way, but I had a couple dogs come after us that did actually that were pretty scary. And
Yeah.
like, I had a big
Sure.
German Shepherd chase us one time. The funny thing was, we ended up chasing the German Shepherd, so that was cool. But we didn't know that was going to happen. You have to act bigger than you are, like you're not afraid. Ugh.
Yeah.
And that's how we got it to go away. But man, it's people got to if you own a dog, take responsibility.
Yeah. It's an ignorant. There's an ignorance there. I got to say, I've wondered for years. An anti-litigious person. We are just in such a litigious society. Everybody's suing everybody all the time, and that it takes away all of our fun, our diving boards, our monkey bars, our playgrounds, all of that. But I've nonetheless always wondered how these dog parks can stay open more than a week, because I would
Right.
seriously, because I think it would take all of 1 week for some fool with a big dog whose dog kills another dog or at least injures. And there you got
Yeah.
lawsuits.
Well, and here it is too. I mean, this poor woman who fell on the dog,
Mm,
she's gonna have to pay $8,000. And so it's not just that, hey, be kind, put your dog on a leash or control your dog. You could end up being in the hole some serious money here, because man,
mhm.
these I tell you, after having a dog, boy, the vet, man, they do great work, but boy, they're expensive.
Yeah, and I had that. I had a lot of those problems with Laney. Very,
Yeah.
very expensive surgeries, which makes me think. Well, I'll save it for the lighter side. Hey, I wanted to ask you. I saw this article that it was pretty shocking. Always talking about L.A. 17 million gallon sewage spill.
Ah,
LA's largest treatment plant closes miles of Southern California beaches.
yeah.
What is up with that?
That's just what we needed, right? Is
Yeah.
just a big, like, millions of gallons of sewage
Oh,
spilling into the ocean. You know, Barry, since I've lived here, and I moved here in 2005, that's happened several times now. Yep.
how?
This is the like, how could you make that mistake more than once?
Exactly.
I mean, one time you'd think, okay, that could happen, but several times, that seems like a pattern. Like, maybe they're like, hey, what do we do with all this sewage we got over here? I don't know. Let's have one of those accidents,
I
like, I
guess.
don't know. But yeah, so they've
But
had
you
to
would
close it.
think the health agencies, the government health
Yeah,
agencies would be all over this
you would
and
think,
lawsuits and all of that,
well,
fines.
what happens here, this is kind of the routine. It's all in the news. It's terrible. Don't go to the beach. And I mean, we're
Yeah.
going to do something about this. And then it disappears in the news, and then
So it's
nobody
another
finds
crooked.
out. Yeah, it doesn't. It seems okay. So we have out here that we have a water shortage. We have fires that are happening. But when you really pull back the covers on this and take a look, it always comes back to government mismanagement of our
Mm,
resources here.
hmm.
And but they always find a convenient way to blame it on something else. So,
Oh my God.
it's a man out here in California, it's a racket. Hey, speaking of California, this is we've got this recall going on, and the governor is going to have, I guess it's on September 14th now. It's
Hmm.
moved around a little bit, but it's September 14th. It's going to be very interesting. I've explained it before. It's a two-part process. The first is you go to the voter booth. The first choice you make is, do we recall the governor? If so, then you vote for a number of people that are running for governor, including him. Uh, and it's interesting. He missed a deadline, so it's not going to have a D after his name. I don't think that's going to make a difference,
Hmm.
but and so Larry Elder threw his hat into the ring.
Really?
Yeah. So if you don't know who he is, he's
I do.
a prominent talk show host, a conservative,
Conservative. Yeah.
and I really enjoy him myself.
Another rare. I don't know how rare. We think of black conservatives as rare, but all of a sudden, even as I was starting to say that, I'm like, well, black conservatives don't seem so rare anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think over the last couple of years, there's a lot more black
Hmm.
conservatives that have kind of opened their eyes. Certainly, Larry Elder is a leader of the black conservative movement, and boy, does he ever make sense. But really, he's just a person that makes sense. Forget the fact that he's black. He's a
Yeah.
guy that just
Yeah.
makes sense.
But
And
there's times, Merle, as you know, that only a black man can say some conservative things
unfortunately,
and
yes.
reach other black people.
That's
You know,
true. And he's
he's
just so logical. He's got a great
yeah.
story. I listen to him quite a bit. I find him completely compelling. I loved the movie that he put out last year called Uncle Tom. If you
Mm.
haven't seen that
I haven't
movie,
seen
you
that yet.
need to see that.
It's
It
got
is
great reviews. Yeah.
such an eye-opening movie.
Mm.
It chocked with historical fact. But anyhow, he's running, and I would vote for him in a heartbeat. If there's nobody better than him, I think he already has my vote because I know him so well. I'll reserve the official on that until the date, because who knows who else will run. Anybody can run for governor here,
Mm.
and which is interesting. But I feel that he's got maybe a snowball's chance in hell of
Yeah,
winning out
for
here in
sure.
California. But who knows, because we've been so pushed around here, especially over the last year and a half, that you just don't know. I think all bets are off, but it just seems unlikely that California would elect a Republican here.
Well, it would be a nightmare, especially in today's culture. a Republican, especially somebody as conservative as Larry Elder, coming in and trying to work with this existing government, which has been trying so hard to go down a far left change.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are
for
think they're
sure.
creating a change of for the better, and it's clearly not. It amazes me how they do that. This kind of brings me to this point, and you can bring it back to this subject if you want.
Okay.
But I had this headline: 2/3 of Republicans in the South support seceding from the U.S., a survey finds. Nearly half of Democrats in the Pacific region and almost 40% in the Northeast also favor seceding from the Union.
Where is this coming from? Where did you?
I got the link. I'll pull it up.
Oh my gosh. I have a hard time believing that. But
Okay, I'll read more. This is an article in the Daily Mail, and findings are from a survey conducted by Brightline Watch and YouGov.
hmm,
Uh,
that's interesting. I mean, well, I don't know what to
well, with the
say about that.
divisiveness of today,
Yeah, but
yeah, I
seceding
don't.
from the union,
But
that's a big deal.
I think it's one of those things. It's like when Trump was running for president, and everybody on the left said that they were going to move to Canada,
Yeah.
and
But
then
I don't see that as a right-leaning kind of thing.
mm,
Like seceding from the right people, conservatives. Why they're called conservatives is because they want to conserve the original intent of the Constitution. So these people wouldn't necessarily secede from the Constitution.
well,
It seems odd to me that anybody
no, I got to tell
would say
you,
that.
Merle, I've been having these thoughts a lot myself lately, and I think that we've gone down so far down a road that I think just creates a smokescreen around the Constitution that I almost feel we need to secede to get back to what we originally were and put some more safeguards in place that so we don't go down this path of being bought off by all the businesses.
When you say it that way, I agree with you.
Yeah.
The Declaration of Independence says it, which we spent a lot of time on together,
Hmm.
but it says it pretty succinctly that when the government stops being a government that is solely there of the people for the people to protect the people's god-given rights, then
Right.
it's our responsibility to destroy that union and
Agreed.
create another one in the image of the previous statement. And
Hmm.
so you're correct. I guess I look at it more of rather than seceding is I want to
Reinventing.
correct those things because it does also mention that it wouldn't be reasonable to destroy the union just because something's going wrong. It has to be where we're at a place where we've tried everything.
Mm.
And I really believe that we're faced with a situation where we see the states actually standing up for themselves. And
Mm.
as we talked about, Barry, the states came before the federal government,
And they
right?
always should.
And then because the states are where our rights are most protected and our
Hmm.
local government, that's really what we have to protect. And
Hmm.
and they're under attack. The states' rights are under attack. When you hear
Yes.
what Joe Biden said this week about the voting laws that have been passed in 17 states, and how they have a bill in front of the Senate right now. It was HR1, it's now SR1, and it will dramatically change the way that voting has happened here in the United States traditionally for the last 240 years.
Mm.
It'll change it so that the federal government is in charge of all the rules nationwide. This is a recipe for complete corruption. This is why the states are responsible for it, so that they can have local people looking at it, because locally people care about what's happening locally more than they care about what's happening federally. What's happening in your backyard, they want to
Yeah.
that so your safeguard is local
Mm.
always,
Mhm.
and they want to change that. And now the president's comparing this to the Civil War era and
Yeah.
saying that this is, and also bringing it back to like the early 1900s, saying that this is Jim Crow. Remember the Jim Crow laws,
Hmm.
Jim Crow 2.0. and then invoking the Civil War. I've actually never heard a president invoke the Civil War before, since we've been alive, and I think that's extremely dangerous. But it's going. It goes back to what we were talking about the states' rights and how important it is that we keep that whole thing intact. And kind of lost my train of thought on on everything. Help me out.
I know when I saw the highlights of that speech that you're talking about with Biden. And when I see this kind of hyperbole over and over again, and Trump, of course, was kind of the king of hyperbole, but I don't know, after that speech, Biden may have, Biden's handlers and speechwriters may have usurped that title. It really angers me. And increasingly, I think these people are treating the public like we're stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for that, but I think that there's enough halfway intelligent people in this country that are tired of being bamboozled and that are starting to see through all of this, all of the political charades that are going on. And I think we're getting very disenchanted with all of this. It's a damn clown show all the time in Washington.
I agree. I mean, what I'm seeing happening there seems to be very, very dangerous, and I find it ironic that we have a president that is going after, the Georgia voting laws, for instance, and really criticizing that when he's been the senator for Delaware for 40 some years, and the voting laws in Delaware are far more restrictive than the new voting laws in Georgia.
Yeah.
So why not? Why didn't you focus on that? I mean, again, the voting laws in Colorado, where the major league moved that All-Star game this week, are way more restrictive than in Georgia. And so people know this.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Yep. Yeah. And then you take a look at these voting laws that have been passed in every state. And you heard Kamala Harris say this week that, hey, well, these people, these poor people, they don't have access to copiers where they can copy their driver's license and send it in. And it's just like, how stupid do you think these people are? That
exactly.
I mean,
she's always digging herself into another hole,
Boy, she sure is a disaster. I mean, she is we were talking about the fact that Angela Merkel was visiting her yesterday, and I'm thinking, poor Angela Merkel. I mean, you come over, you take that flight over from Germany, you're exhausted, and the first person you got to meet with is her. That would be a
punishment.
Yeah, that would be tough. And you listen to the things that she's saying right now. I want to just go back to this voting rights thing in Texas, because what happened there is that this voting rights, or this voting act, was about to pass. And if you take a look at everything they're doing there, it's a reaction to what happened in 2020 with the mail-in and everything. And we saw corruption. This is bottom line. I don't know if it would have changed the election or not. Nobody knows that, but we definitely saw some horrible things. They're trying to correct that whole thing. I don't see anything that's aimed at any particular race there. So it passed the Senate, and then it went to the House to be passed. It was about to pass, but several Democrats fled the state.
I forgot about that. Right. Because that happened earlier in the week.
They left the state and went to Washington, D.C. And so the reason they did that was so that the House wouldn't be able to have a quorum. And if you don't have a quorum, meaning you have the majority of the people there, then they can't vote on any of the bills. So here you have a bill that is being held hostage. It's being delayed because those Democrats left the state. Why did they leave the state? Because the Texas Rangers have the authority to arrest those people and bring them back to the chamber to make a quorum. I mean, actually, most state constitutions have it in their constitution, and even our federal government's constitution has that. So they left because the Texas Rangers don't have jurisdiction outside the state. And here's Kamala Harris saying that these people are heroes. They're very courageous, standing up for the rights of the citizens of Texas. And at the same time, these particular House members went and met with the Democratic House members, and they encouraged them to get rid of the filibuster. Okay, So the filibuster is what's standing in the way of SR1. In other words, with the filibuster, you need 60 votes for that to pass. There's no way they can get that. So they want to eliminate the filibuster. So it's just a majority vote. Okay, here's the hypocrisy in this whole thing is that these Democrats that left Texas are encouraging Democrats to get rid of the filibuster so that they can get their way. However, by leaving the state, they've effectively caused a filibuster in Texas. So they're filibustering and telling the federal government to get rid of the filibuster in order to get the same thing. So it's good to filibuster when it's for your way. And at the same time, when it's not, don't filibuster. You can't have it both ways.
Well, I understand. And I also want to throw some perspective out there that I read that the Republicans in Portland did this exact same thing, fled Portland.
I don't think that's right.
Yeah, for twice it was legislation about climate change. Oh, you can look it up.
But here's the thing. Yeah, no, I'm saying it's not right to, I don't think it's right to flee your state. Because when Kamala Harris said that, hey, they're standing up for the rights of the people, well, the legislature is voted in by the people. And so when you leave the state because you don't want the vote to go away, you don't want it to go.
No, these are
that's not standing up for the rights of the people. Because the rights of the people are being taken. Right. That's exactly right. I don't think it's right for any politician to leave their duty to make a political point. I think that's, and plus we are paying them to be there. We're not paying them to leave. We're the taxpayers. We're not paying. Look, it didn't go your way, but to stand in your position that we're paying you to be in, I just don't like this.
No, we set up a system of rules. Our politics are set up in a certain way, and now they're trying to bend the rules and just play with them. It's all ploys. It's really underhanded. I don't like anything about it. And wait a minute. So the governor says that they're going to be arrested. He said this almost a week ago, but said that like Monday or something, said that they were going to be arrested when they come back. Is there any legal precedence there?
Yeah. Like I was just saying, it's in their constitution. When you think of arrest, they're not going to be arrested and thrown in jail. They're going to be arrested and taken to the legislature, and they're not going to be allowed to leave until they vote. That is in their constitution. By the way, it's in our federal constitution as well.
Okay.
And so in other words, the Constitution takes it very seriously that you're not supposed to do that, up to the point that they have the authority to arrest you and bring you back to do your duty. So it speaks volumes to the action that they have taken. Like I said, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. This is not right.
Wrong. It's funny business.
It is funny buzzbusiness. I don't like funny business in my
Speaking
politics.
Of funny business, you hear Hunter Biden's a budding artist?
I heard he's selling like that. I mean,
this is big.
He's a professional now.
Yeah, he went to rehab, picked up some paintbrushes because you do that art therapy in rehab.
Right.
And now he's selling this stuff. They said that this New York gallery owner says that they're going to price this stuff between $75,000 and $500,000.
$500,000 for who? Okay, so who's going to buy that?
They will not disclose those names. The entire art world is a notorious money laundering scheme. Seriously, for billionaires. Crystal and Sagar, might have been Sagar, did a really good episode on this. And do I have a link in here? I don't think I do. Easy to find though. So like this Saudi princes, the oil tycoons and stuff like that, they'll purchase artwork for millions of dollars and never even see it. It'll go into a warehouse somewhere. And I think how they explained it is it'll just get sold again in another way, but it's all really money laundering schemes. And so even the fact that back to Hunter Biden, the first time artist who's all of a sudden demanding
$500,000
Picasso prices
for his doodles.
Yeah.
For
So
his drug rehab doodles.
over 300,000 people demand inquiry into, quote, Biden family corruption. I have a link to that article. Over 300,000 have signed a petition from one of Washington's top watchdogs demanding that a special counsel be appointed to investigate allegations that President Biden and family members, notably budding artist and son Hunter, have profited off public service. And he's spent his entire life gaming this system.
Oh my gosh, he really has.
And complicit with the mainstream media who won't cover it whatsoever.
That which is censorship. I mean, that's what's happening right there. It's some crazy stuff going on. Hey, I got one other thing.
Go ahead.
And I saw this on Tucker Carlson. So and when I heard it, Barry, I was shocked and I didn't believe it. And because it was so shocking. But they're saying that ICE has confirmed this. And so what's happening is that they've uncovered the fact that these people coming up from Mexico are being taken to this airport in Del Rio, Texas. That's the same area, the same border area that Kamala Harris went to. There's an Air Force base there where they are flying plane loads of individuals into the interior of the country.
I heard that.
And they're using our Air Force to do it. They're flying them to states like Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, to name a few. And when you take a look at the amounts that have been coming over the border, over 1 million so far this year, and then you start to look at where they're flying these people. These, if you think about the presidential election, it's Florida, it's Georgia, it's North Carolina, it's Michigan. These are all the states that were very, very, very close. And so obviously we talked about this earlier, that this party, some in this party believe that if you put these people into those areas that they'll vote for the Democrats, especially with the the voting laws that they want to implement with SR1. This would change the constituents in these traditionally red states, or the ones that are purple right now would be changed to blue states. And they're using our military without our consent. Our military is interesting because under Trump, Trump asked the military to help with the border situation happening, and the leaders of the military said that that was a political thing, and the military should not ever be involved in politics, which I agree with. However, the border and the protection of the border, it seems to be constitutionally the military's duty to protect the border. And so there seemed to be a conflict there. But here it is that under this administration, the military is actually assisting in taking non-citizens and placing them into areas that could potentially change the political dynamics of that area. I think this is a very, very serious offense to the American people. It is anti-constitutional. And I would also say that if this is the plan of the administration, that this actually would qualify as an impeachable offense. Now, I don't have all the details on this, but what I did understand from this show was that ICE had confirmed that this actually is happening. I think we need to further investigate this, but if this truly is happening, we've never seen anything like this happen in our government before. And this would go right to exactly what you were talking about, Barry, and that this no longer is government of the people and for the people. And something has to be done about that situation.
No, it's awful. It's awful. And Merle, I hate to say, we gotta start winding this up. So on a lighter side here, I want to say, come Sunday.
Look at this
Sunday. I am bringing Charlie home.
Sunday.
Yeah. I got some new renters coming in for a month, and as soon as I get that settled on early Sunday, I'm going out to pick up Charlie.
Charlie, what a good looking boy he is.
Oh my God, look at that face.
So let me ask you, okay, so you're getting a puppy, and what kind of, I know that you have a very nice house, and you have, your wife is very much like mine, and, you know, she's gonna, you know, she's very particular about the house.
Little bit.
Nice things and everything. You're like that too. I mean, she's not the only one. You're very
not to her level.
I know, but we're guys. And for a guy, you're like the neatest guy that I know. Seriously. And,
hear that, honey? Do you hear that?
But we are all pigs, so he's the neatest pig in the, in the herd.
All right, where are you going with this? Where are you going with this?
I'm just saying that. So there's a puppy. He's gonna chew. He's gonna pee. He's gonna poop. How are you guys gonna deal with this?
Oh, cage training. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really the most effective way to potty train a dog, because it's really disturbing for them to have an accident in their own little enclosed space.
Yes.
You know, the dog always wants to go somewhere way out there and go do his business and come back. And in the house, before they know better, that piece of carpeting on the other side of the house will do just fine. So we're going to do the cage training for sure. And I'm confident that this will go pretty well, pretty quickly. And the fact that we both work from here now remotely.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So how do you prevent them from chewing up like the furniture?
Cage.
Oh, okay.
You know,
cage is the answer.
Yeah, no, I'll let him out all the time. And I plan on, it's a perfect time of year to start him too, you know?
Yeah.
So I'll take him out like all the time and stuff. And, you know, we'll gradually give him more freedom under our supervision in the evenings and stuff like that. And we'll just see how that goes. It's going to take a while for a little puppy to get through that. So that's that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This is a big deal. It's a
very big deal. This is a big deal. You got a new family member coming in, and that's really what
life's going to change. Yeah,
it is going to change.
I wanted to ask you how far you've gotten through Schitt's Creek. How's that going?
So the way I'm watching it is it comes on every weekend and several episodes come on. So we could not wait to watch the episodes this weekend. And for some reason they didn't come on. We didn't capture them. So now we're like, it's almost like we're addicted to the show. It's like, oh my God, it's not on. Why didn't it come on? We're all panicked.
The other day, I decided to pick it back up and check it out again. And it's been a long hiatus because, as I said, the agenda stuff was being pushed down my throat to turn me off. And I remember telling you it was like season 4 or 5. It was no, I got up to 6. I noticed when I pulled it back up, I was on episode 2 of season 6, and it's still a good show. I've watched a couple episodes and I did a little fast forwarding. Really get tired of seeing all the men kissing on there. By the way, I don't like watching men and women kissing either. It kind of
I don't like that either. And I feel like it even like, I don't want to see the heterosexual sex either, happening. Why do I want to see that?
Right. So
it usually takes away from the storyline for me.
It totally, anyways, if you get beyond that, it's still a good show. There's still great characters and there's still those silly, quick episodes of, whatever happens in that 20 minutes. It goes by so fast.
It does go by fast. And that's one of the things that's fun about it is that, you could go through 4 episodes and just start binge watching the show because it's so fun to watch it. It's the writing characters is very creative. Yeah. And you'd stand up liking that's the thing. We said this a bunch of times, but it was truly amazing to me when something nice happened for the son and I cried. And I'm like, wait a second, what's happening to me? This is just a silly show, but you end up like personally liking each one of these characters.
Okay, with that, we gotta sign off here. Really over. So everybody, thanks for being with us. Please go to over50startingover.com to subscribe to our email and get these shows dropped into your mailbox as it happens. Also, please like us on YouTube if that's where you watch us. Give us a like and a share. And if you subscribe to our podcast, which is the way I would do it, please give us a 5-star rating there. Thanks a bunch. See you next week.